So you probably clicked on this link and you're wondering, what does this idiot have to say? I'm Reece Zaka and I make audio production style videos to try and help you guys improve your recording, mixing and mastering skills. So I've been thinking about mixing a lot this week and how the perfect mix doesn't really exist. And what I mean by that is every mix is so different, and one mix that you really like, someone else may not like. There'll be a large group of people who all enjoy a similar kind of sound, and then that same amount of people will think that that mix sounds like rubbish. So how do you find the perfect mix? You can't. All you can do is achieve a mix that you think is perfect, or that you think is close enough to perfect that you're happy to share with others. I've been listening to this playlist of songs for a gig that I'm about to play this weekend, and I just couldn't help but notice how different the sonic characteristics from song to song were. So I was listening to one song and it's a nice, bright, big, modern sound with deep low end and extended high end, and it's nice and wide. And then I go to the next song and it's all rolled off and it's nice and dark and warm. But my immediate impression was this song sounds muddy and gross. But then like 30 seconds into the song, my ears had adjusted and I'd forgotten all about that and I was enjoying the song again. So it's crazy how our ears adapt so quickly when we listen to songs that it doesn't really matter about the overall production. The biggest thing that's gonna make your song do well is that it's a good song. It's got a good arrangement. That has always trumped the production. So if you're getting really caught up and having trouble finishing a mix, you might just be being a little too pedantic, because the biggest thing is it a good song? Does the mix sound pretty good? Yes, you need to release it. You need to let it go. There comes a point when you start going too far with mixing and then you start to ruin it. And so for the guys who are producing their own music, you're recording stuff at home and you're spending countless hours on this trying to get it as good and as perfect as you can, sometimes that's actually a bad thing. You're spending too much time on it, you lose perspective, and sometimes getting that really perfect sound to your mix actually makes it sound more sterile and quite lifeless in the end. I can think of a whole bunch of songs that have done really well and they're just not perfect. The vocals are a little pitchy or the timing's a bit loose. Think of like Vance Joy's Riptide. That song is done incredibly well, and yet you have a listen to the tempo of that song and it's all over the place. It speeds up and slows down. As soon as the guitar starts playing at the start, it just starts to speed up a little bit, and then when it goes into the chorus, it really picks up speed. So it just goes to show that perfection is not always the best thing. Having a little bit of character and humanness in your mix can actually add charm and maybe even make it more approachable to other people. So for the guys who are producing their own tracks and mixing their own stuff, you really need to get an outside perspective on your tunes to help you get them over the finish line, because it is really hard to finish off something that you are working on alone. But what I want to say is, don't join a Facebook group, don't dump a link to 1,000 strangers and ask for an opinion on your mix, because you're going to get feedback from all these people whose ideas maybe don't align with yours. What you think is a good mix, they might think is rubbish, and they're going to start telling you stuff that's going to actually destroy the vision that you have for your mix. What you need to do is align yourself with other engineers, other producers, and get their valued opinion, because they make the kind of music that you like the sounds of their mixes, and they're someone that you can trust and value their opinion. Don't just put your stuff out there to anyone and say, what do you think about this? Just have a close couple of people that you value and use them for feedback. Now, another thing that I wanted to touch on is referencing. So as a mix engineer, you always get people giving you references for mixing, which is totally fine. And I even ask clients if they have a reference that they want to show me. But one of the things you need to understand about references is that you can't try and make your song sound exactly like another song at the mixing stage. So if you are really aiming for a certain sound, you need to be referencing from when you start creating the song. So as soon as you start picking a drum sound and you're referencing a song, then you start trying to get that similar drum sound. You don't wait until the mixing side of things and say, can you make my drum sound like that, when they're nothing like it at all. That's actually just really silly, and it never works out sounding any good when you try and force a circle into a square, if you know what I mean. And where referencing can be useful though, is if you say, hey, I've got this reference and I want to get my mix to sound somewhere like this, just in that same kind of ballpark, then that can help the mix engineer or yourself to get the song into that similar area. But what you need to understand is it's probably never going to sound exactly like it unless you have actually built your song and copied all of those elements from the start, which is not always a great idea, but if you're particularly chasing a sound, then go for it. But if you can understand that a reference is just a guide, you're never going to have the exact same sound. You listen to like 10 bands in the same genre, I guarantee you they don't all sound the same. So you need to just understand that if you're using references, don't expect your song to sound exactly like it. Just use it as a way to chase maybe like a sonic signature, you know, how bright it is, or how much low end's in it, you know, how scooped the song is, or if it's like kind of a darker, warmer sound. Just use it in that way to help you kind of shape your mixes, but don't try and make your songs exactly like them, because you'll end up kind of over EQing, over processing, and ruining the song rather than allowing it to breathe and be its own thing. So that's kind of my take on mixing. The perfect mix doesn't really exist. It only exists to us. So if we have a mix that we really love, then that's what matters. Whereas if we try and please everyone else, we never will. So just make sure when you're asking for feedback, it's from people whose opinions you value, people whose work you admire. And if you're using referencing and chasing a very particular sound, make sure you reference from the get-go. Whereas if you are giving a reference at the mixing stage, just understand that it's more of a guide. Don't try and force your song into something that it's not. It's better to let it take its own shape rather than squeezing the life out of it. If you guys agree or disagree, let me know in the comments below. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you take a look back through some of my videos, because I've been uploading heaps of stuff all year, so there's plenty of good content there for you to check out to help you improve your mixing skills. Just like this next one coming up, where I take you through using Pultec EQs and Fairchild compressors to get a nice, natural and tasteful sounding drum mix.